Joe Mazzulla is the coach of the Boston Celtics. I've been a Boston Celtics fan for as long as I can remember. My era was the not very good Boston Celtics era. It was the very tail end of Larry Bird, and it was Reggie Lewis, who tragically died early, terrific player for the Celtics, Kevin Gamble. That was sort of the era that I grew up in. But of course, being a Celtics fan, I've followed them for a very long time. And they're playing really well. They're up 2-0 in the NBA Finals right now. The coach of the Celtics, as I say, is Joe Mazzulla. The coach of the Dallas Mavericks on the other side is Jason Kidd. Both of them are black. And this became the subject of a media question. Joe Mazzulla was asked about the fact that both coaches are black, and his response is just tremendous.
For the first time since 1975, this is the NBA Finals where you have two black head coaches. Given the plight sometimes of black head coaches in the NBA, do you think this is a significant moment? Do you take pride in this? How do you view this, or do you not see it at all?
I wonder how many of those have been Christian coaches.
So Joe Mazzulla is a religious Christian. You can hear the silence in the room. The media don't know what to do with that answer. It's a great answer, right? Because who cares about the color of the coaches? Jason Kidd is the coach of the Mavericks. His dad was black and his mom was Irish American. The reality, which is that the thing that got Joe Mazzulla to prominence is more closely tied, presumably, to his religious beliefs and his moral values than to his race, is certainly true. Because the way that you act in life is a reflection of your values. And Joe Mazzulla has been a very stalwart presence in the locker room, obviously. He's gone through some rough times with the Celtics, including their wild underperformance last year. And now he's in the finals. And so when he's asked about his race, as though the most important thing that's happening in the world is his race, good for him for saying no. Good for him for saying no. Actually, you might want to look at like the value system of the people who are in the NBA Finals as opposed to the color of their skin. It's a great terse response. The media really didn't know what to do with it at all. And instead, there was just like this awkward silence in the room because the media want their race-based story, and they weren't going to get it from Joe Mazzulla. It was pretty great. It was like an 8 seconds of incredibly uncomfortable silence. And then the microphone was given to the Athletic's David Aldridge. Now, that's not the first time that Mazzulla has expressed his faith. So at one point, members of the British royal family went to a Celtics game. That would be Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the two most awful members of the British royal family. And Mazzulla was asked about his thoughts on royalty watching them. And he said, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, because he was told that a royal family had went to the game. Which is a great answer. Like, why exactly should he care that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle? He's a Christian. It's good for him to believe that the most important people attending the game are, like the Saints. Like, that, like, good for him. Have you ever heard of data brokers? These are the middlemen who collect and sell all those digital footprints you leave online. They stitch together a detailed profile of you that includes your browsing history, online searches, location data. Then they sell that profile to a company that delivers you a targeted ad, which, no big deal, right? Well, the problem is those same data brokers also sell that information to DHS and also the IRS. To mask my digital footprints, I protect myself with ExpressVPN. One of the easiest ways for brokers to aggregate data and tie it back to you is through your device's unique IP address that also reveals information about your location. When you're connected to ExpressVPN, your IP address is hidden. That makes it much more difficult for data brokers to identify who you are. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of network traffic to keep your data safe from hackers on public Wi-Fi. That's why I have the ExpressVPN app downloaded on all my devices. You can use it with your phone, computer, even your home Wi-Fi router. All you need to do is tap one button to turn it on. You are now protected. It is indeed that easy. So make sure your online activity and data is protected with the best VPN money can buy. Visit expressvpn.com/Ben Shapiro Show right now. Get 3 extra months free through my special link. That's expressvpn.com/Ben Shapiro Show. expressvpn.com/Ben Shapiro Show to learn more. Julia Louis-Dreyfus. So she, of course, is one of the stars of Seinfeld. She was on Veep as well. So there's been this big gap that has emerged in the comedic community between comedians who still wish to tell jokes and comedians who wish to pander. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus, well, she obviously wishes to maintain her status in the good graces of the left wing. And this means that Jerry Seinfeld, who, of course, is not a right-winger. Jerry Seinfeld is not a conservative Republican by any stretch of the imagination. But he was recently talking about the fact that PC has made it very difficult for people to do their jobs because if you violate intersectional precepts, then you are simply thrown out of the building. And here she is ripping the guy who made her famous. I mean, let's be real about this. If it weren't for Jerry Seinfeld, nobody ever would have heard of her.
When I hear people starting to complain about political correctness, and I understand why people might push back on it, but to me, that's a red flag because sometimes it means something else. I believe being aware of certain sensitivities is not a bad thing.
So I just have a question. Why is that a red flag? Why is that a red flag? Why don't you just say, let's see how, I mean, if somebody says, I wish to say politically incorrect thing and then just says something awful, that's not the same thing as politically incorrect. But if comedians properly point out that if you make jokes that violate certain religious precepts of the left, that they will come after you, that's not a red flag. That's just a reality. It's very reminiscent of some of these comedians who are out there who will disown their old jokes. But, oh, well, you know, of course, that was a bad joke, and I wouldn't say that joke anymore. Times change, and I apologize for that. Okay, because you're a coward is what's actually happening here. Stop cowering in fear. The best story of the day continues to be the religious adherence to the pride flag during Pride Month, that most holy of months. According to thepublica.com, there's been problems in Spokane, Washington. So in Spokane, Washington, they decided that they were going to paint a crosswalk with the Pride Progress flag in Spokane, Washington. Now, the problem with painting a crosswalk with the Pride Progress flag is that people drive over it because, you know, that's on the ground, the crosswalk. It's a thing that people walk and drive over. Well, it turns out that there were a group of 3 teenagers who were on Lime, which is the electric scooter and bike rental service. They were on these Lime scooters, and they were doing wheelies on the Pride Progress flag and were caught on tape doing that. They were arrested and charged with first-degree malicious mischief. They could go to jail because they did wheelies on the Pride Progress flag. Now, as it turns out, it was later reported that they were also doing wheelies like other parts of town as well. But thou must not have any other gods besides the Pride Progress flag. This religion must never, ever be faced with dissent, ever. Malicious mischief. 2 of the 3 teens were underage, so they've not been named. So apparently, Lime is now announcing it will be implementing a no-go zone around that crosswalk. So now everybody has to tiptoe right around the Pride Progress flag that's on the floor. You know, I'm really looking forward to Pride Month now including people putting Pride Progress flags on like all the seats on airplanes. And if you sit on it, then you go to jail. Like that'll be really great. If you walk on the street, it's like the floor is lava in Spokane, Washington, but the floor is Pride Progress flags. Don't walk on it. Don't do it. If you do, you will be punished. The release continued. Officers observed widespread damage as black scuff marks consistent with scooter wheels. Ah, look at that investigative skill. Were observed across the entirety of the mural. The area is clearly marked to keep traffic away as it was just repainted to repair previous damage. It turns out people keep driving over the damn thing. Attached to the release were 2 photos demonstrating the extent of the damage, both of which showed faint black marks on the street painting consistent with thin tire marks. Because as we know, there are no skid marks anywhere in America on roads. Not a thing. The alleged vandalism resulted in an outpouring of condemnation from Spokane's LGBT community and those purporting to be LGBTQ plus minus divided by sign allies. Babylon Bee had the best headline, which is teens avoid jail time by skid marking free Gaza on the Pride Progress flag. One journalist from the local media station named Adam Schwager went viral after complaining he had witnessed other teenagers running over the Pride mural crosswalk. He said a group of 5 or 6 kids started doing donuts and creating skid marks on the Pride mural right in front of me. And then later, he pointed out that they were also doing wheelies other places. And again, it turns out that if you don't want people to, you know, drive in an area, probably you shouldn't put it on the road. Like on the road. It feels like you're daring people. And again, this is not the first time this is happening. In February, a 19-year-old from Clearwater, Florida was arrested after being caught on video doing burnouts with his truck on a Pride crosswalk in Delray Beach. Dylan Brewer turned himself into the Delray Beach Police Department after the video began to circulate online. He was charged with felony criminal mischief, over $1,000 in reckless driving. This is so tiresome. This is America, where apparently churches routinely sort of get burned down, pro-life centers get burned down on sort of a routine basis, semi-routine basis without any sort of reports from the media. But step on a Pride Progress flag on the sidewalk and we'll arrest you. Are you tired of the lies and the twist of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.